Good morning. So I'm getting my day started. I've actually been getting my day started for a while. I got up this morning. I got up pretty early. I got up before 6, and I did my meditation. I went out for a walk. I picked these on the way. I think it's so cool that I can just pick food along the way and eat it. What I wanted, I just made myself breakfast. Now it's probably about 8:30 maybe. And I was, before I eat, I'll show you my food. I I to stay in appreciation, I say thank you. I say thank you to all of my guardians and to all of the gods. And I mean it in a way that everything is a god. Everything is creation. Creation is God. Yeah, and I am part of it. And as I was, just in appreciation, it really puts you into the now, knowing where your food came from, and being in appreciation that I have food and that I'm able to, um, that I'm provided for. And so I was really just kind of saying, like, you call it a prayer. Is that blessing my food and saying thank you for all that I have? I forgot my fork. Not all in position. Forgot my fork. I have a place I sit out there. When it's shady, it still has shade on it now. And one of the things when I was really thinking about it, you think about everything that had to have happened for the food to come to be, and for me to come to be, and I realized that I'm part of all of this earth. I'm part of everything, and that generations support me. The land that I live in supports me. I was really getting into, I was thinking about it. I was almost like a meditative mode. And I realized that all the food that I eat, everything, it has generations running through it. Generations of people that were put back into the ground, and plants come up from it. And and then it goes back through people. I was thinking about the flow of how everything just flows. Everything is in a perfect harmony. It flows in and out. Even your food, it flows. It goes into you. Parts of it, whatever you need, stays, and the rest goes out. Everything is in flow. Knowledge is in flow. I was even thinking of the supporting me. It's not only the food that is supporting me; it's also knowledge. I'm built on generations and generations and generations of knowledge that's been built on itself. And so I am supported by all the people that have come before me, if it's within my food, if it's within my knowledge, if it's within society, if it's within, the plants and the animals, and everything is a part of everything. When I die, well, this body, this avatar, I'm in eternal existence. But when this body, the life is separated from the earth, and I go back into the ground, I'm going to become part of this big cycle of life. I'll become part of the birds. I'll become part of the plants. Part of the plants, and then birds will eat the plants or the worms or the flies or whatever, and I'll be like kind of like an expanding star. It's just like back into the universe and into this big cycle. And when you think of it that way, we are part of everything, and everything is a part of us. And all of the generations that have come before me are here in support of me, lifting me up. And I'm in awe when I think about that I am a representation of life in this time, and all of the people that have come before me are like lifting me up from underneath and supporting me with their knowledge that they built. And the more I allow the universe to flow through me. So it's like food. You allow the food to flow through you. There's a constant flow. I allow energy to flow through me, means that I exert the energy that is God given, that comes through me. Um, and I allow the food to flow through me, and I allow the knowledge. I mean, when you find something in the physical world that works, it also works in the spiritual world or in any other realm. Every cycles, there, when you find patterns in the universe, they are universal patterns, and when you find truths, they work with throughout. So just like the food flows through me in the physical world, and just like the knowledge flows through me and goes, when we get knowledge or downloads or whatever you want to call it, like channeling, because this is something that's really big on my, that I've been thinking about lately, is that when I get these gifts, like channeled messages that come through me, that it is my God's work to create the flow. If I get channeling and I just sit on it because of my avatar is embarrassed, my ego, right, is embarrassed to come out and say something like, whoa, maybe somebody's going to think I'm stupid, or who am I to say it, or I don't want to be a show off, or all sorts of things like that. That is myself getting in the way. It's me thinking that it's mine. It's me being conceited. It's in the same way as being conceited and thinking that all my gifts are me, and that showing it off and I'm better than other people. Um, being bashful or silent when you get gifts because you are being humble, or you think that humble is God's work. There is humble. You are humble because it's not yours, and it goes through you. But in a way that you're shy to express yourself is actually being shy to express God. It's like being embarrassed of God. It's taking your perfectness, and acting like you're not perfect is actually denying God that is flowing through you. God, the universe, the all, the perfect. And when you really look at things and you take them and you put them into perspective, this life is like nothing. It's like in all of existence. I mean, I'm sitting here in the middle of the Bible land. All of the Bible stories that happened here 2,000 years ago. How many people lived in this land and their lives went by like that? And if they didn't go out and express themselves like Jesus did, and then what is your life? What is the meaning of it? Then what is the meaning and the purpose? You become part of the collective that brings, and that's also important. It's kind of like the butterfly and the butter. My twin always says, butterfly and the cocoon. What's more important, the butterfly or the cocoon? The butterfly can't exist without the cocoon. So I guess the masses of people would be the cocoon, right? That would be able to support the butterfly that brings the message. So let's say at the time of the Bible, there were thousands and thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that lived, that none of them were written in history, but they had to have existed as the cocoon so that the butterfly's message could have a river on which to flow. So when I was doing the blessing on the food, I was thinking all that had to have happened for this food to come to be, including, that it had to grow out of the ground. You think of it growing, where does it get its nourishment? It gets its nourishment from, food that has come through animals and plant, it's all a big mishmash. When I'm out on the mountains all the time and I see like the cows poop and stuff, and it goes right back, and it's everywhere, and it goes right back into the land. And so we are all part of this, and we're not separate from it. Um, and when you understand this, then I can see that just by having a plate of food, I am the butterfly right now, and all of the generations that have come before me are the cocoon that are supporting me and cradling me, and allowing me to have this experience through the experience that they had before. And when my life passes through this avatar, then I will become part of that as well. This body will become part of the support for the new generations that come. You know, plants will be grown of me, animals. I go right back into the cycle. And so I feel like this message that I can give out, and then it makes me feel like I'm like a baby that's being supported from all of the knowledge that all of my ancestors, all of the, not only the blood that flows through me has come from seed of my generations and generations and generations of my family, of the people in my, and that's how I got my looks through the DNA that was passed through generation and generation and generation. So I'm supported by a long, long line of life. Life gives life, gives life, gives life. And the only way that I can have this life is if I've had generations of life that have come before me. And it's a continuance of life. And it's just like there's a continuance of knowledge. And it's like when you take a people and there's a genocide and you cut off all of their knowledge and you do like a complete homicide, genocide, then you cut off generations and generations and generations of knowledge that has come into the world. This is how we've lost ancient knowledge by the greedy human that feels like they are the, you know, who am I to say that my way is the right way? There's so many different ways to be. There's so many different ways to experience life and filters in which to see life, and even society. You know, there's like the individual's perspective of life, and then there's the society's perspective of life. But then when you look around the world, there's so many different societies and different ways that things have evolved and become, you know, you can see how our own beings have evolved just in one lifetime. In my lifetime, how many lives I've lived within my life, how many different belief systems I've adopted and changed and moved, and you know, it's amazing. But then when you see like a society, a collective way of being, way of thinking, and then you see that there's many different collective ways of being, you know, the way that we live and understand here in Israel, or the way in the States, or even in different parts of the States. You know, there's the Southern, there's the Northern, and there's the Western, there's the Eastern. They have different accents, and it's all one country. And then you think about in China and their beliefs, and in India, and there's so many different ways to be. How could you think that there's only one way? And so I feel like I'm supported not only by generations and generations and generations of the collective knowledge, also you can see it in the physical world, all of the bodies that have gone back into the earth, and you know, it's the cycle of life is sacred, and the cycle of life is what supports our life. And for us to be, you know, and in our life, we need to support one. By supporting one another, then we're allowing life to flow through us. I was thinking about, you know, how we allow food. When you don't allow things to flow through you, that's when you get sick and your life is depleted. When you don't allow knowledge to flow through you, when there's only an intake and not an output, you become sick because you're not allowing life flow, the life energy to go through you. Is the same thing with food, you know. If you just intake, you start turning into a ball. If And this is something I'm realizing on myself with the channeling, that when messages come to me and I need to put them out into the world, it gives me like, that's what I think, that's why these videos really, I consider them to be my God's work, because they allow me to put out what comes through me, and then I don't have to, it's not sitting in these. I told you, like in previous videos, I have boxes and boxes and boxes of writings of things that have come to me, and I, you know, up till now I call them realizations. And one day I'm going to put out a book, realizations, but when it's mine to put out, it never gets out. I have boxes and boxes and boxes and stacks of notebooks with all sorts of different little messages like this, what I'm saying here, how I realize this support. and I would take a thing, and I would take the time to write it all down, write it all down, write it all down, because one day I'm going to put it all into a collective book. One day I will, because I really feel like it's 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 meant to be, it flows through me. I don't want to say it's not mine. That's how I feel a lot of times. Like, it's not mine to sit on. It's not mine to hold on to, and not, I must release it. I remember there's an you can look up the video. There's an Englishman, and he was in his 90s, and he found, my food is getting cold. He found a way to um, to boil water instantaneously by using sound. So it's by using a vibration. Because sound, what is sound? Sound is a vibration. And he created this little thing. You put it into a thing of water. You start the sound. You put it into a thing of water. The water instantly becomes boiling, just from a vibration. And he was going to make. So he was waiting to sell it. He wanted to sell it and make a ton of money. He was in his 90s. See, and this knowledge came to him. He figured out how to do it. It's his knowledge. His knowledge, right? And he died. And he took it with him. And we don't have this knowledge. He, I mean, what a horrific thing to do. I see it like, it wasn't yours. It was a gift to humanity, to the rest of, you know, that, you know how much electricity that knowledge would have saved just till now? You know how much electricity and gas and natural resources we put out to boil water? And what good does it do to the world if he actually brought it out into life, and then took its life away? I'm sure that one day we're going to come up with it again. But there's all sorts of ancient knowledge like that. Like, how did they build the pyramids? You know, they found around the pyramids these little cone things. They learned how to harness the natural energy to be able to lift these things up. There was a man that lived in Florida, that he had this garden of massive, massive, massive stones. And I read a little pamphlet that he wrote, and he also took that knowledge with him. He died. I think he was originally from Ukraine or some Eastern European country, and he used to lift and he built like this massive garden with these massive stones. He would have trucks bring these massive stones. And there were some kids that looked over the fence to see how he was doing it. And they said they saw him lifting these massive stones with these little cone things that looked like ice cream cones. I read the story, and he actually wrote a pamphlet. That I wanted to look up and see if I can find it again, on how to harness that. There's energy that runs through everything, and if you can match the vibration, you can harness that energy. If you learn how to work the flow of that energy. And he took that with him to the grave as well. And I feel like it's a loss to humanity. And why? Because of greed, because of money. I don't know why the guy in Florida, I don't know why. But the other guy, he was waiting for somebody to pay him money. I mean, if you put on the scale, he wasn't going to take, he was in his 90s. Where's he going to take all that money to? What, give it to his kids? Okay. His kids didn't end up getting it, and the world got that, lost out on all that knowledge. I feel like what comes through me and the natural gifts that come through me, I can take the same example. Maybe I don't know how to make some kind of invention like that, or maybe I will. But it's the same thing. And the more that I allow it to flow, what I notice, the more that I allow it to flow by making these videos, or by putting the information out into the world, or teaching, a lot of times I teach people. The more I allow it to flow, the more the gift comes to me. And when I don't allow it to flow, it's like a backed up, it's like having a hose that's backed up, has water pressure on it. It's painful. When you don't allow your gift to go through you, it's painful, and then you get all sorts of addictions, and it's out of weakness. The only reason that we won't allow something to flow through us is because of the way that society is nowadays, and because of greed. We don't believe in ourselves. There's no value in a lot of the talents that we have. We think that the world, because you can't put a monetary amount on them, then you feel like the world, that it doesn't have a place in the world. A lot of artists are thrown out of the world now, especially with AI. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this. I'm going to have my breakfast. So thank you for watching. I'm happy to share.